God still speaks.
But most people miss his voice because they're waiting for something dramatic, a loud sound, a sign in the sky, or a moment that shakes the room. And most of the time, that's not how God calls people.
From the very beginning, God has been a communicator. Scripture tells us that creation itself was formed by his voice. God spoke, and the world came into existence. And that same God is still speaking today, not always through noise, but through truth, scripture, peace, and conviction.
Many people think that if God were calling them, it would be obvious. But often, his call comes quietly through a thought that won't leave you alone, a verse that suddenly feels personal, or a deep inner knowing that something needs to change. The Bible gives us many examples of this.
Samuel heard God's voice when he was young and didn't even recognize it at first. Moses was called while hiding in the wilderness, convinced he was unqualified. Gideon was afraid and unsure when God spoke to him. David was just a shepherd when God chose him.
God has never waited for perfect conditions or perfect people. He calls people where they are, at unexpected moments in ordinary places, and often when they least expect it. But the truth is, many people hear God's call and run from it.
Jonah is a clear example. God spoke, and Jonah went in the opposite direction. Yet even in Jonah's rebellion, God didn't abandon him. God pursued him with mercy. That's important to understand. Running doesn't cancel God's call. It only delays obedience.
Sometimes God's voice isn't loud at all. Scripture describes it as a still, small voice, gentle, quiet, but clear. That's why learning to listen matters. Jesus himself modeled a listening life. He often withdrew from crowds, spent time alone in prayer, and listened to the Father. If the Son of God needed quiet moments to listen, we do too. God's call isn't always comfortable.
Sometimes he speaks and asks you to forgive someone who hurt you. Sometimes he confronts sin you've been avoiding. Sometimes he calls you to obedience when it feels costly. But every time God calls, he also promises his presence. He never sends you without going with you. One of the clearest ways God speaks today is through Scripture. His word is living and active. And when God speaks and we ignore it again and again, our hearts can grow hard. Sensitivity fades when obedience is delayed.
God can also speak through correction. Saul encountered God through confrontation, and that moment completely changed his life. God's call didn't just change Saul's beliefs, it changed his direction. And that's often how God works. His call doesn't always change your location, but it changes your direction. It reshapes your purpose. It realigns your heart. God is still speaking.
The line is still open. His grace is still waiting for a response.
And many times God speaks most clearly in our weakest moments. When pride is gone, when strength is gone, when we finally stop pretending we're in control. God's call is not meant to condemn you. It's meant to save you, to keep your life from being wasted.
So if something is stirring in your heart right now, don't ignore it. Pause. Be honest. Listen. Scripture says, today is the day of salvation.
Not tomorrow, not someday.
Today